Welcome back, America. I'm joined by Mary Katharine Ham, host of Getting Hammered, and a brand new podcast that's soon to be released, Getting Hebrew Hammered. I listened last week to Getting Hebrew Hammered, and the allusion to, I think it's a great idea, Mary Katharine. When does Getting Hebrew Hammered drop?
We were talking about how sometimes Vic and I, a Catholic and a Protestant, need help with our Jewish references. Although we have great love for the Jewish people in the state of Israel, sometimes we just get our terms mixed up. So we were like, do we need a lifeline to just call Bethany Mandel when necessary? So we're working on that.
Well, I want the same lifeline because I listen to Dan Senor in commentary, and they lapse into Yiddish as though we're not there. And I feel like saying, I'm right here. What the heck are you talking about? I have no idea what you're doing. Let me get very serious very quickly, Mary Katharine. I have been sponsoring, and Food for the Poor has been sponsoring a campaign to bring relief to the hurricane impacted people of Florida, northern Georgia, eastern Tennessee, and especially the mountains of California. And now Florida is pretty much fixed, but I asked Food for the Poor to keep the banner up at hughhewitt.com for another couple of weeks because I don't think North Carolina is fixed yet. What, you being a North Carolinian, what do you understand the western part of the state to be like right now?
Yeah, it's definitely not fixed. I mean, places like Chimney Rock are just wiped out. No streets exist, right? So this is a very tough situation to get people into. Samaritan's Purse. I have friends who are out there working with them, doing. They got church groups round the clock out there just cleaning up and trying to get people to a place where they can have contractors in or any kind of help to actually fix their homes. There are still, I believe, 90 something people missing. Obviously, that is a recovery, not a rescue mission at this point in all likelihood, which is just terrible. And it's a very tragic situation that people move on from very quickly because we have this news cycle. I would note Nancy Rommelman at Nancy Rom, Romm, on Twitter is down in Asheville and Chimney Rock reporting this week. So she will have some insights. But even at the airport in Asheville, there's a boil water advisory inside the airport on the waterfronts.
Wow.
Like, life is not normal in Western North Carolina.
Tell me her name again. Nancy Rom at Nancy Rom on X.
At Nancy Rom, Romm. I'm actually staying at her place in New York while she's out.
Well, good choice. I'd let her get down to Asheville. Here's my nightmare scenario, Mary Katharine. The election comes down to the way that North Carolina goes, and we can't find the votes in Western North Carolina. Now, it happens to be both blue and red out there. Asheville's very blue, the mountains are very red. What do you think of that possibility?
I think that things are in pretty bad shape out there, and that probably voting is not top of mind for many of the people who are involved in cleanup and just desperately trying to cut through giant trees to get on with their lives, right? Greg Biffle can only do so much, and there have been so many people on the ground. And at this point, the federal government is in there. They were later to the game than civilians and other groups, and especially FEMA. But there's people on the ground helping. But I do think there there's probably room for one of the voting nonprofits, right or left leaning or what have you, to be out there making sure that people do get to exercise this right, because it's going to be more complicated. I think that North Carolina legislature allowed a few tweaks to when you can drop off absentee ballots or do early voting in Western North Carolina to sort of accommodate this. But yes, there's probably some room to do some real help on the ground out there.
There were tweaks. I would like to see them extend voting 30 days and do a Georgia style. 30 days later, you can get your vote in, and we'll just suspend North Carolina. Maybe it won't matter, maybe it will matter, but I don't like the idea of either a lefty or a righty not being able to vote because their polling station is gone. Mary Catherine, I want to turn to Charlemagne the God yesterday. Can I play Bobby, please, for Mary Catherine? This is the craziest thing. Whatever cut
Hi,
that Bobby
I'm Bobby
is.
from Georgia, and I have a question for Kamala Harris. Could you please respond to Trump's claim that he's going to use the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to round up immigrants if he wins the election? This law was last used to put Asian Americans in internment camps during World War II, and I have a sneaking suspicion that if Trump wins, he's going to use this law to put anyone that doesn't look white in camps, and I'm scared.
Okay, so this is nuts. What do you, and she responded, you should be scared. What do you think of that, Mary Catherine? Why would they let that nut on the air?
Well, yeah, are they screening those questions or not? I don't know if they're just taking questions, but her answer was very affirming to this person. Like, you've
Yes.
gotten the correct message. And it's so much projection. By the way, I generally like Charlemagne. I think he's a more interesting thinker than like 90% of mainstream journalists. And even though he has a professed side, he often can push, but he was pretty soft on her yesterday. And this is a moment where he just like sort of nods along with this guy. Um, I think this is such projection. They are creating fear here. Like, the guy's scared because of the messages you are sending, and you're backing him up on this insane claim.
Mary Catherine, stick around for 4 minutes for me, will you? Because I got to get more deep into the election with Mary Catherine. We'll put it on YouTube. Don't go anywhere, America, except to Getting Hammered. She has unusual views on nutrition. I want to know what they are. Stay tuned, America. You know, I have now been referring Mary Catherine Ham to Continenti as the God at his request on Commentary Podcast yesterday. Do you have a preferred moniker?
You know what? Since I have ham and everything is branded that way, I don't really want to branch out. I mean, the Hammer's pretty good. Hammer Time is pretty good. Like, I feel like I've already got it. I don't
I
need to
know
be a
that
god.
Vic is now Vic the tofu eater because of your last episode. Vic is the tofu eater. And I've been known as Wave Master since I got to California at the age of 21. So I've got mine already. Everyone needs a new nickname after Charlemagne the God. Let me talk to you about something you mentioned in passing in the last Getting Hammered. You said you have unusual views of nutrition. That piqued my curiosity, as I do as well. What are your unusual views of nutrition?
Well, I would say that there's sort of, maybe what is the term, is maybe anti-establishment, in that I think the nutritional establishment and the federal government in particular have been wrong about nutrition for ages. I think that fat is good for you. I think that sodium's not a problem unless you're already hypertensive. I think that the whole low fat, which ended up being a high carb phase where we just stuffed everything with extra sugar to make it taste better, was actually very bad for you. You should eat as many whole foods as possible, and try to stay away from processed. By the way, I still eat Bojangles and Waffle House. Like, I'm not ashamed. It's about balance. But I'm also like a statin truther and some cholesterol stuff that I think is kind of bunk.
Okay, what do you think about sushi?
Oh, I love sushi. I know.
You see, in Ohio, we call it bait. We call it bait. I have a gag reflex. So I want to run by you a situation and tell me how you would have handled it. I was asked by a very well-off individual to come have dinner with them, and I was asked if I had food restrictions, to which I answered no, because I can get through most courses even if I don't like it. Well, it turns out it was 7 courses of sushi by a private sushi chef. I didn't even know how to eat it, Mary Catherine. I had to sit there with my hands in the lap waiting for people to show me how to eat it. And I'm unembarrassed by this because I'm too old to be embarrassed by my food choices. But I hate sushi. I can't get it down. It's like the lima beans of the sea. What do you think? Do you think that sushi is responsible for many deaths that go unreported in the United States? I do.
I don't know about that, Hugh. I do think food poisoning, obviously from raw foods, is a greater chance than other things. Oysters can be particularly problematic. That is one thing I do avoid while pregnant. I do not avoid sushi while pregnant. I definitely, with my second kid, ate all the sushi. And now I'm just jealous that you didn't call me in. Let me be your pinch hitter for a 7-course sushi meal.
I felt so bad because it was obviously an elaborate presentation for my benefit. There were only 4 people for dinner. It was a great conversation with a really smart person who you would like to know about. But I must say, next time someone asks me if I have food restrictions, I say, I'm not going to allergic to anything, but please don't serve sushi. I now have learned to say that. Is there anything Mary Catherine Ham says, please don't serve X?
No, I'm actually quite adventurous. I'll pretty much try anything once, and I have I would say I have a broad, I can go high, I can go low. I'm pretty flexible on food.
Do any of the 4 Hammer children exhibit an Ohioan's distaste for the exotic?
Yes, I would say 2 of 4 seem a little standard kid food picky, and the other two are willing to try like parent food and adult food. So we got a 50% situation, but we do also encourage even the picky ones to have their normal dinner because sometimes mom just cooked one dinner and that's all there is to it.
Now, I want to tell you about my last notice to Steve. I have stayed in Maine because this past weekend was the North American Wife Carrying Championship held at Sunday River, as it is every year in the state of Maine, a ski resort a couple hours from the coast. And the North American Wife Carrying Championship, which you can see there on your screen, involves about a 280-yard obstacle course where the husband must carry the wife. The prize for the North American Wife Carrying Championship is $500 plus the wife's weight in beer. Do you think you and Steve are up for this?
I absolutely think we're up for it, although I don't think we're the best combo because really you want a very strong large man and a petite woman. We have a very strong large man and a strong, dense woman, right? I'm just like not the lightest package in the world. So he's going to have some more trouble, but he's in very good shape. I wish I could help more. I feel like although I guess our beer would be larger because I weigh more. So
Your beer, you would win more beer. They have a teeter-totter at the end, and they just keep stacking beer until it evens out. But the key is the wife has to keep their ankles very tightly locked, even when the husband goes down in the mud. I think you'd be very good at this, Mary Catherine. You and Steve, you're welcome to stay with our friends and family. Take a look at this.
I think if we have a chance to be champions, I'm there for it. I think we could pull it off.
It's the North American Championship. Have you ever been the North American champion of anything?
I don't think I have, but I'm looking forward to it. We'll start training.
All right. We'll send you the details. Mary Katharine Ham of Getting Hammered fame, thank you for joining me. What's the new podcast, Mary Katharine?
It is called Normally, and that's with Carol Markowitz, who is a New York Post writer who we all know and love.
I have to go get Normally, and I will send you Father, Daughter, Grandchildren, the new podcast that we are starting with my daughter when we ever get around to it, but we're both procrastinators. Yeah. Would your dad ever sit down with us on Father, Daughter, Grandkids? Because she and I have very different views of child raising. Do you have very different views with your father?
I don't think we have that dissimilar views, actually. But it's funny because I feel like your daughter and I line up pretty well on child rearing. So maybe my dad and your daughter have similar views because maybe we're all on the same page.
Well, you're very free range and my daughter's very free range, and I don't want them to go to the playground. All right, so I'm very risk averse grandparent. I don't know if your dad's a risk averse grandparent, is he?
So I don't think my dad is risk averse. My mom is a little bit, and she finds it funny because she wasn't with us. I mean, we were very rough and tumble kids. She had two boys and me, and we were really in the dirt and climbing things and all that kind of stuff. But with her grandkids, she's just less practiced at letting them do what they need to do. And so she finds herself hovering more than she did as a mom.
I'm a hoverer. All right, Mary Katharine, thank you so much.